good to see you. How was your festival? I did see your message this morning.
It was so good.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've been talking about it with the guys here today, and it was so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Shambhala festival.
Oh,
Have you
nice.
heard about it?
I haven't actually. No, I haven't.
I
No.
hadn't until friends of ours said a few
Mm.
months back that for our teenagers, it might be nice to accompany them so they can. So I had this, and a couple of them have been before and said
Mm.
it's really lovely, family friendly. So I had this idea of a family friendly festival and created this
Oh,
painting in my head of a bit of a twee festival.
yeah, yeah.
But it was kind of everything. It was really fun in the daytime,
Oh,
and there were families around. And then at night, it just got super colourful.
mm.
Great places to go and dance. Went on till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good, really good,
Wow.
and some really good DJs there. So in the day, it's sort of they have a lot of world music,
Hmm.
and at night they get loads of really interesting old, young, whatever DJs playing really great contemporary electronica,
Yeah.
which
Oh, wow.
I really like. I like
Yeah,
dance,
yeah,
and so yeah, and drum and bass, techno. This old guy,
yeah.
two old guys actually, must have been in their 60s playing
Mm.
techno with these amazing lights, and then in these little clubs, some young guys playing really great drum and bass. There was a roots tent. I've never been in a venue where there's so many people dancing to roots reggae.
Wow.
Really heavy bass as well.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
honestly
I
amazing.
really want to go again next year.
Yes,
So
you
you come back
discovered
from
something.
this, you come back from it, and your head's still there, and it's sort of right
Mm.
now. I've got to deal with some invoicing
Mm.
issues and payment stuff, and
Hmm.
but it's funny actually. I was while I was there, I was thinking about this conversation that we're going to have because we're going to be talking about being a team and teamwork and what that means.
Hmm.
And in my head, it sort of begun to make sense to me that things work better when we group around them as a collective.
Mm.
So have you been to a festival?
Yeah, I used to a few years ago go to Wireless Festival.
Yeah,
And then last summer or this summer, when was it? Was it this June or last June? I went to another festival called Cookies and Cream. No, Strawberries and Cream, which is
yeah,
in Cambridge. That
yeah.
was really nice. No, that was this summer. Last summer I went to another festival called Yam Festival. That was really nice. So
Cool.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like a good festival. Yeah.
I don't know if you're like me, but the thought when it's coming up in your calendar,
Mm.
it I'm just in my head, I'm just thinking, all right, it's all the faff.
Yeah.
Can
Oh
I be
God, yeah.
bothered?
Yeah, yeah.
Got to, pack, make other arrangements. I was going to miss 2 days of work, and I'd, just recently been on holiday.
Mm.
Felt a bit guilty about that. And
Mm.
then I've got to be in the car. There's quite a lot because there was a large group of us going. Just quite, stuff to do basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the way up there, it really rained heavily, and I was thinking, oh my god,
Oh no, what have I done?
yeah, yeah. And you get there, and then it was, we had quite a lot of kit. Had a
Mm.
wheelbarrow, but it's like 3 journeys backwards and forwards.
Mm.
So, and by the end of it, you are thinking, well, this is
Heavy.
quite hard.
Mm.
But then you get down into the actual festival, and the whole thing makes sense. And what you realize is that everyone else has gone through that process in
Okay.
order
Yes.
to then get together and have
Yeah,
fun together.
exactly.
And I think it struck me, humans operate best when they're doing things together.
Yeah.
It's what we want to be doing as well.
Mm. Mm.
And we
Mm.
have a lot of fun together. We don't want to dance in a room on our own. We want to be enjoying that around other people.
No.
And there's little workshops there at Shambhala as well where you could weave baskets or, you do some
Ah,
blacksmithing and stuff. And
yeah.
people want to be doing that together as well.
Mm.
It's just really nice to see. And so I suppose I thought, well, that's quite a nice segue actually between my great weekend and, the workplace and what we're talking about today, which is
Yeah.
gathering around things as a team.
Mm. Mm. But you know what I really liked in that story just now, Matt? The idea of how much better it felt knowing that everybody else who was there had also been on a similar journey almost
Yeah,
to get to that same place.
true.
So that sense of collective, that synergy that that creates,
Mm,
and that sense of shared accomplishment almost, isn't it?
yeah,
To have actually arrived there, just lifts, doesn't it just lift the spirit almost, isn't
yeah,
it?
it absolutely
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, shared goals as well. I wanted to talk
yeah,
about that later on.
yeah,
What values do we hold and how important that is in a team? So yeah, people going to this place because they all want to share they have the same vision that they want to have a good time, and share that color and those smiles and everything
yeah,
that were
yeah,
there in force.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very inclusive place. It was, which again, and it was diverse. It was inclusive and diverse. And again, similarities between types of things that we talk about today.
Yeah. I feel
Um,
like, I feel like once you see this, you can't unsee it. I feel like you see
yeah,
everything in the world in those lenses.
yeah,
I find myself just noticing things that I probably would have never noticed maybe 2, 3 years ago. That I'm just more cognizant of it now. Just little things. You just think, oh, how would somebody who was less able be able to access this place? Or, how would somebody who is not like the rest be able to fit into a place? I feel like you see more. I think inclusivity and diversity and fitting in. I think you see more once you've seen it. Once you open that
I
side of your
guess,
eye,
yes, yeah,
you can't unsee it anymore.
yeah. But is it down to perception only though, or are things like diversity and inclusivity actually growing and um, becoming an important aspect of the working environment? It's not just
Mm,
down to perception. Do you think? Or,
no, that is a really good question. So is it more of it, or are we just noticing it more? Is it more of an issue, or are we just noticing the issue more? I think it's probably a bit of both.
mm,
I think things like social media and things like just the growing age of technology. I think all those things have made everything more accessible. So one person experience becomes amplified, across a range of people who now have access to see and hear these things more.
yeah,
So I think it's definitely a case of we're hearing more about it, we're seeing more of it. Um, whether there is more of these issues that are actually happening today, I don't know.
mm,
That I'm not really sure. I think potentially, just in very different forms, which we've spoken about before. We've spoken about things like micro and macro aggressions, and things that are the less kind of blatant, overt ways of expressing discrimination and racism than before. But whether it's more or just a different type, I don't know. That's a really good question, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we just notice it more, but whether there's over or more of it, yeah, maybe, perhaps.
What I was also interested in talking about is so we're talking about we are a team, which is one of the 7 promises of the People Promise.
Yes.
And in a minute, I wanted to just read out what the People Promise is from the NHS's point of view.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in, though, is just having a quick chat about whether it has evolved out of only a need, and that need is to retain its staff. So, there's a financial need there. It has to retain its staff. Or whether it's been born out of an era that we have entered where it's becoming clear to everyone that we need to look after ourselves and each other more. I'm kind of hoping that is the case, and that this. Let me just. Oh yes, I wrote some notes down here of where the People Promise comes from. I think this is roughly the timeline. It grew out of the People Plan, which itself evolved out of the NHS long-term plan in January 2019. And I think it was Theresa May that unveiled that. I guess, so this is my way of giving it some sort of definition. It's a guide for how any organization should invest in and support its staff.
Yeah.
And so the people plan tries to then break it down into 7 succinct points.
Mm-hmm.
And the one we're talking about today is we are a team. So yeah, so what I was wondering about is whether, the NHS can see that, the staffing situation is in crisis. It's costing a lot of money. Staff absence is high. So staff absence, not enough nurses on a ward. That immediately introduces extra costs because you've got to pay bank nurses, agency nurses. But the mental impact, the emotional impact of those on the ward. I mean, there was a post actually on LinkedIn today by a nurse. I think her name was Amy. Tangibly chaotic. Is the phrase that she said every day is tangibly chaotic.
Gosh.
And I actually did just comment back, because you do sort of gave it a thumbs up, like, really, what does that mean? But said, nobody should have to go to work and be under that duress and strain of something that's working, like, that's working in the red all the time.
Constantly.
Which is not healthy mentally, physically or emotionally. And no one should be expected to do something like that every day.
I think that the mental toll of that is one of the biggest issues that we've got, because I think you're absolutely right. You want to go to work and be part of a team. And at the very basic of team is other people, you want other colleagues, you want, individuals around you to almost share the clinical responsibility and share the duty of care to patients.
Yeah.
So if you're going into a working environment and you don't have that, that's a difficult place to be. And what's even worse is that, nurses, other healthcare clinicians are going to work knowing that, yes, today they're on their own and they might be on their own again tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after that. That is a hard place to be.
Yeah.
Emotionally, physically, all of that.
Yeah.
Has its toll on people.
Because, this is what the NHS says about we are a team. I'm going to quote here. We are one huge, diverse and growing team, united by a desire to provide the very best care. We learn from each other, support each other, and take time to celebrate successes. So I've just broken that down, but what stands out, and we'll talk about some of the other things, what stands out to me here is, learning from each other, supporting each other, and celebrating each other's successes can only be done if you've got some time on your hands.
Yeah.
And if you're running around being tangibly chaotic all the time, man, you're just coming into work and going home again, and the rest is just a blur.
Yeah. You are actually you're coming in and keeping patients alive.
Yeah.
You're doing the basic need.
Right.
In terms of providing care. You don't have the mental agility or the physical agility to do all of the other stuff, learning and sharing and celebrating. You just don't have that.
Because that's what I was imagining. So, I've never been a nurse. I'm just imagining what it's like and not having any time. I run this small business and I can create as much time for myself as I want. I don't have anything like those pressures. So am I right in thinking that some nurses, they don't just write this stuff on LinkedIn? It is actually like that. It does feel like you're running around chasing your tail the whole time. Is that how it feels for some?
I think, I'm a nurse. I have operational responsibility for a number of teams in the NHS. And I also have social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. I hear people's experiences. I hear, what other nurses share about their day-to-day work life. And And so I can only say that, yes, absolutely, that's what some people are experiencing. Because I do have, teams that, I'm accountable for, I do what I can to ensure that we're not doing that chasing the tail scenario.
Yeah.
And that we're trying to create that space where you can have a meaningful work life that doesn't just involve coming to work to deliver care only. Your work life as an employee in the NHS shouldn't start and stop at delivering care. There should be other things that come with it. There should be a sense of working towards something greater, whether it's improving the care that we do provide or improving you as a person, and that might be different to different people. But there should be something else that is able to be achieved in that work life. And I think at the moment, and it has been like this for a while, but I think even more so now, there is the sense of just doing that bare minimum.
Yeah.
People are just struggling to give anymore.
Yeah.
And so actually that tangible chaos.
Yeah.
It's just
tangibly chaotic.
Yes, it's just the perfect way to describe that. It's.
Do you think some nurses see it more than others? Are there some specialisms or areas you might be on another type of ward or on another area of nursing and not experience those same stresses? Or do you imagine this, the staffing crisis is nursing wide throughout the NHS and probably the independent sector as well, maybe?
Yeah, I think unfortunately the staffing, the nursing shortage is across the board. There might be some areas that are going to feel that acute pressure more. But I think, across the board there are shortages.
Yeah.
I think when there are increased shortages, those areas are difficult to work in or more challenging to work in. For example, you're talking about potentially our A&E nurses, you're talking about potentially our mental health inpatient units. Those areas are sometimes more challenging and actually require more of you as an individual when it comes to your resilience, your tenacity, all those things that, your drive that kind of keeps you going. I think when there are increased shortages, I think those areas become more stretched because people are just less likely to actually commit to those environments. So it becomes more acutely of an issue in those areas. But I think across the board, there are shortages everywhere.
It is bound to affect the day-to-day work of most people.
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers, which I was this morning, I love data. We know that there are just over 700,000 registered nurses on the NMC register. 320,000 or 45% work in the NHS. So it's a really large number, but it's publicly acknowledged that they are about 40,000 nurses short. So that's a 12% shortage, and in the last year, I think there's something like 3% new nurses were entered into the system. And it can't, so it's just the maths just never adds up. You're always running to stand still in terms of numbers. And so we keep going back to this, that's the data, and we know the financial impact of this, billions of pounds spent on the NHS's failure to retain its staff. And yet they talk about these 7 promises, and I really think they're good. I think they're a good set of aims. But they're only a good set of aims if you can action them. Worthy as they are, admirable as they are, can you action an aim where you want people to gather around this idea of a team, where you can celebrate successes, share ideas? If actually you can't do that because practically it's not possible. And, for something to be believed in and followed by everyone, because there's no point having these 7 aims if everyone's not on board. You need everyone's buy-in. And I wonder whether there are some nurses who might look at those 7 promises and just think, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a bit cynical about the whole thing. That it's this worthy notion, but you come down here on the shop floor and you see what it's actually like. Fix these problems, and then I'll try and be part of a team.
I think a couple of things really that come to mind. I know that when I went on the NHS England and Improvement website to look at the 7 promises, it talked about having developed these with the people who are delivering the care, and it's
Right,
supposed to
good,
be a
yeah,
lived experience perspective. So it's derived from the perspective of the employees of the NHS as a whole.
yeah.
So we would only hope that it resonates with
Mm.
with most people
Yeah.
who work in the NHS.
Yeah.
I think your other point about sort of how do you get people on board with this? How are you going to get trusts and organizations to actually rally around this? Because your introduction, when you talked about where this promise has come from, when you mentioned the long-term plan,
Yeah.
the long-term plan is sort of the NHS direction around what it wants to deliver to the people, as in the people who use the NHS. So
the patient care.
Patients, yeah, it's very much surrounded around patient care and patient improvement and kind of improvement experience of people who use those services. And it's very strategically driven, but it's been well operationalized into different trusts. So actually, for example, at my trust and other trusts, we talk about the long-term plan pretty much on a weekly basis, because
Really
we're
good.
implementing
It's always
that.
in the conversation.
It's always in the conversation.
Yeah.
Now, where the people promise is really interesting, and I suppose it's a question, is I wonder how easy it will be to implement these.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how are organizations and trusts going to be accountable to action this for its employees?
Okay.
And I think that's the bit that might be missing and might not resonate with the ordinary nurse, healthcare assistant, who is going about doing their day to day. That's the bit that we need to try and close that gap between.
Doing anything in an organization that has over 1 million people in it, 1.3 million people working in the NHS, is going to be a massive undertaking. We can all sit around and chat in the pub about how we do it differently, but God, I would not want to be running it.
No.
And that's what I think, like I was saying earlier, the intention behind this is it yes, they need to retain staff. And is it coming from that, or is it? And I think it actually is. It's coming from an even better place, which is, how should we be treating staff? How could we be doing this better? And for me, that would be a really worthwhile aim, and it makes the goals really important, because I think everybody should, and I have this as one of my sort of driving motivations, is for everybody to be able to get up in the morning and want to go to work. I think being in an environment that is pleasant to work in shouldn't just be luck or privilege. I think it's almost a right to be in a place where you want to work. And then, if we are in a place where we want to work, that's when we'll deliver our best as well. So I guess, and that chimes with what you were saying a minute ago about it being about patient care. Those 7 promises know that if they are fulfilled, we will deliver, or nurses, clinicians will deliver better patient care. Everybody wins.
Yeah, but I couldn't agree with you more. I just, I feel like we're still in a place where that is still luck. It's still a privilege. It's still by chance.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, it's not by the wrongdoing of the people, quote unquote, in charge. I think actually a lot of this is as a result of their stresses and the level of stress and the level of pressure that trusts are working at.
Yeah.
So, I think I think the ordinary nurse, the everyday nurse will probably tell you, it takes a lot for me to get out of bed to get to work.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
It's such a shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had jobs where we've got that sort of Sunday night dread.
Mm.
Oh shit, I wish it was Friday night again. Monday tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't have that. And I actually acknowledge that most mornings when I swing my legs out of bed. It's not too hard. I'd obviously love to stay in there for a bit longer and read a book and have a cup of tea, but I'm normally pretty motivated about getting to work and enjoy what I do. And I think it's so sad that there's so many people that can't experience that. And it's great that they are talking about changing that. So in that passage that I read earlier, there's a few other keywords that stood out. We talked about it being a huge organization, and it is. You know, this is a massive challenge, and I think that has to be accepted. And a pat on the back to those that are really, you know, that really believe in this and are trying to realize this aim.
Yeah.
Such a massive organization. 17th, I looked up on Wiki earlier. 17th biggest organization in the world. Used to be the 7th. But it's been overtaken by a few armies and, you know, some big petroleum companies and stuff. But
and isn't it Europe's bigger employer?
Yeah.
I mean, that is
what an achievement.
Something. Yeah, that's remarkable.
Yeah, you know, that deserves a little shout out every single day by all of us for managing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we won't get too political. It's a great achievement.
Yeah.
But the other word in the aim, we are a team. We are one huge diverse team, and so diversity, you know, is key. Obviously, a passion of yours. Diversity, fairness. So let's have a little chat about whether it's diverse enough. And we'll talk about diversity in a couple of ways as well.
Yeah.
So people from diverse backgrounds. I thought we might also talk about intergenerational diversity. And then let's talk about the thing that doesn't seem to get talked about that much is underrepresentation of the male workforce. Shall we do that?
Yeah. Are you sure you want to go there?
I'm not sure. But let's do that one first. It is interesting though.
Yeah.
Why is 89% of the nursing workforce are those who identify as female, 11% the other way around. Why is that? It's a caring profession. What does that tell us?
I mean,
put you on the spot here, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. I mean, just, you know, it tells us that we still live in this type of society that, you know, relates caring responsibility and caring roles to women. That's the only logical conclusion you can draw, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. I think where it gets a bit interesting is the position that those 11% of males are in the NHS. So, you know, I haven't looked this up recently, but
have you?
You know,
you haven't looked it up recently.
Yeah, I haven't, but I will be interested to know where the males are positioned in
terms of the hierarchy,
exactly, compared to women proportionally. That will be an interesting thing to see. I mean, I've known for a long time. I think it's an old saying. The snowy peaks of the NHS. What there is a saying along those lines.
Oh, white-haired.
Yeah, and it's sort of linked to the sort of white male, you know, individuals who are at that top, you know, top level within.
I'll tell you what we can do, because this isn't live, so we can just edit all of this out. If the data doesn't back it up, keep it in if the data does. But I'm going to make a little note, and maybe I can find that out.
The snowy peaks or the white snowy peaks of the NHS. Yeah, there is a saying like that, and it's all linked to the, you know, males white male in those senior positions?
So you would say, we talked last time we spoke, about, I guess, the privileges of the dominant culture in terms of career progression. And I suppose implicit behind what you're saying is we live in a patriarchy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so that might be the dominant gender culture
Okay.
that we're still living in.
Mm.
And if the data backs it up, that might be the reason why. So to flip that, to switch it and change it and create a more diverse nursing background, it's a shift it's a societal shift, isn't it? That's men needing to care more and be seen as the carers. And I guess that leads into a really philosophical debate about, genetics, nurture, nature. So maybe too big for this discussion, but
Yeah.
definitely an interesting fireside debate to be had.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, I think there is only one conclusion. This is just the world that we still live in, and even in an organization as big as the NHS overall, where you've got 80 odd percent, female,
89%, yeah.
89% female, and 11% male, you've still then got, in those senior positions, you still then got predominantly white males.
Mm.
So it says a lot about our society's perception of females. I mean, we've still got a long way to go when we talk about women's rights. I mean, there's still a lot more to be done. There is still a gender pay gap. There is still motherhood burden, all those things, motherhood penalty, I beg your pardon. All those things still play a role in how women navigate in the workplace and sort of what positions that they end up in. So I don't think that the NHS would be any different to that. So I think when we speak of diversity, I think we need to speak of a number of areas, and definitely the gender is a massive part of that.
Yeah. So, and last time we spoke as well, if we move on to people from diverse backgrounds, we were talking last time, or you were explaining to me last time, the proportions as well, they taper off. Band 5, I can't remember, it's something like 18%, did you say? People from?
Yeah, it tapers off. So when you get to sort of band 8A and above, the proportionate numbers that you would expect based on the number of BME people in the NHS is significantly less. So and when you get to positions, the very senior managers position, so by 9 and above, I mean it's non-existent almost. So there is a lot of work, so when we talk of diversity and teamwork in diversity, I think those are areas that play a massive factor and again affect people's ability to feel like a true sense of and truly part of a team when there are those disparities along the way.
It shows how big a task this is. We're just focusing in on one word from that mission statement, diversity.
Yeah.
And we've already come across, big societal changes that might be needed. Last time, in terms of, was it code switching? Last time we were talking about, huge topics that will need to be grappled with.
Yeah.
Just to sort out one area of this.
Yeah.
Across an organization of 1.3 million people. And it's massive. So and intergenerational changes, and I find that fascinating as well. So you've got the older workforce, and it's so important currently to keep them in role.
Yeah.
And so they don't take early retirement.
Yeah.
And then you've got the younger workforce who have all that energy and passion.
Yeah.
And how can we, you get the experience, you get the wisdom at one end, and you get the energy and passion at the other. And if you can harness that, it's really powerful.
Absolutely.
But I wonder, is there work happening to bring those two parties together? Workshops maybe where they're encouraged to do things together so they can learn. So they're not, there's no us and them standing by the water cooler saying, Joan, I know that she's going to retire in 3 years and she doesn't do much around here. She just sits around and she tells other people, all these interesting things, but I don't see it, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if they were to work together, they might realize that Joan actually knows her stuff, and she's been there and done it. And Joan in return can really benefit from all the energy and optimism and hope that you have when you're young.
Absolutely. I think, what you're describing is really, it's conscious skill mixing, and actually, leaders and, managers, whatever you want to call them, people who are in charge, really making best use of the different skills and different abilities that they've got within their workforce to maximize the potential outputs, of that. And I don't think there is enough that we're doing around that awareness and that sort of actively speaking about those intergenerational differences and how they could potentially, if not managed appropriately or if not supported appropriately, we're missing something there.
Yeah.
We're not making the best use of what we have in that.
Would you say it is recognized as a thing, and it's just lack of time or resources that means not enough can really be done about it?
I've been in the NHS from being a student 12 years now, and I don't know, it's not talked about enough. I don't think it's recognized enough as something, whether in an issue, an opportunity, however you want to see it. I just don't think it's been explored enough, and sort of looked to see how we can utilize better.
Yeah, and I think it's just
mixes.
Putting my festival head back on and how nice it is just to you have little quick conversations with anyone at those at festivals. Everyone's in a good mood, and everyone has they want to have a positive shared experience. And if you can get that in the workplace, where suddenly Joan is talking to somebody that's 30 years younger and actually getting something out of that relationship, that will light a spark.
Yeah.
Obviously it will help with patient care, but what it will also help with is those two maybe fractionally more wanting to swing their legs out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something about a more experienced person sort of feeling a sense of pride and ownership when you kind of part your knowledge to somebody else who may
definitely
be, less experienced and younger. So I think you're absolutely right. There's opportunities there to really maximize that within the workplace, and I don't think that we're doing that enough.
I think you're right there. We love being, I mean, this is another one, being recognized.
Yeah.
Being recognized isn't just being recognized from above and given an award or a certificate when you've done things. It's being recognized all the time.
Yeah.
So if we feel that we are seen, everybody, we're humans, we like to be noticed. And I don't mean like always a pat on the back and a well done.
No.
But just to be acknowledged. Just to hear thank you for sharing that with me earlier, that really helped me out. What you told me yesterday, I gave it a go today, and that was brilliant. Thanks very much. Are all really positive experiences. And so being recognized is something that would then help the team gel even more, because you suddenly feel relevant again.
Yeah, relevant, needed, appreciated, valued, all those really important, characteristics and things that keep people engaged in work.
Yeah, and that wouldn't need time out. The NHS in terms of staff time is very poor. There's approved time away from your shift is extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
And if your team members are already short on numbers, then there comes a lot of guilt with, all right, I'm off on a half-day workshop to go and learn about being a team.
Yeah.
But being encouraged just to acknowledge your colleagues and maybe share little tips or ask them for tips. Takes 2 seconds to suggest that. And if people follow it through, then that's teamwork beginning to happen right there.
Yeah. I think it's really unfortunate, because what you've described is the essence of what's been lost as a result of whether you want to call it a massive exit, or whether you want to call it a retention issue. That's what's been lost because of the retention challenges. It's that sense of somebody investing in me.
Yeah.
As an employee, somebody investing in me as an individual, somebody who cares about my interests, cares about what I see for my future, cares about my development opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what's being lost. And I think when we talk about we are a team, those are the things that people want to feel in order to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it goes hand in hand. So it's sort of like, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because whilst we're in this retention crisis and we're in this nursing shortage crisis, something has to give. But with what's been lost, you're then losing more people because you've lost that thing. So it's a real challenge.
It's it's a very difficult spiral to get out of.
Yeah.
And again, being part of a team, what else is it needs actually getting to know your colleagues, not just on a professional basis, but having time to have those chats so you get to know them as people. Actually, we touched on this last time as well when we were chatting about code switching, that if you're not from the dominant culture, you might be a little reluctant to always share what you do in your time off. But I think that, putting that challenge to one side, if that wasn't an issue, even just having maybe there's just simply no time to have those chats about what you did at the weekend, how your kids are doing. And we're humans, we need that level of interaction. We need to just talk shit, shoot the breeze. That's really important.
It's really funny because the other week, one of my colleagues who I work really closely with, we were just trying to find 5 minutes for a quick chat. I think I texted her in the morning saying, give me a quick call when you can at some point in the day. And we didn't speak till after 5 o'clock. And we were both laughing that what is going on?
Took all day texting to.
All day. We just couldn't arrange a time to have a 5-minute chat.
Yeah.
And I said, what is going on? It's taken us to have to wait till after 5 to have a 5-minute chat about something that is still work related. We're still talking about work, but to have an impromptu conversation with someone is just unheard of.
It kind of takes the fun out of it a little bit, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it's this is the reality of many people. Sometimes you're working alongside colleagues and other people, and you're kind of working opposites. You're just kind of working in parallel. You know how kids, the different stages of kids play development, when they kind of play like this to each other. Not together, just literally in parallel. And that's what it feels like. It just feels like you're just working not alongside, because you're doing things in isolation. Independently. So it's a real challenge.
Let's talk about, this idea of teamwork. So this celebrates successes, for instance. When I was thinking about this, in a commercial environment, that would almost certainly be, whether you love them or hate them, it'll be going out to a bar or a restaurant as a team, and it's time away from the office. Does that exist in the NHS? Do you hang out together? Does the boss come in and say, well done everyone, amazing month, hit all of our goals, so we're going to Nando's, and everybody's heart sinks? No, I'm kidding. They say they're going to go somewhere amazing, and you can have some drinks, let your hair down. I kind of dread those moments, because my way of letting my hair down is not you know, well, it's just somebody's agenda, isn't it? Some person's fun is
Yeah,
somebody else's hell.
yeah, yeah.
But stick that to one side. Does it
Yeah.
happen? Does that
Does it?
happen in the
So,
NHS?
so it does happen. Obviously, not in the same way as you described it, because whereas an industry where you're not looking after patients, you can all leave the office and go somewhere.
Hmm.
But in healthcare, somebody has to still be there to look
Yeah,
after patients.
true.
So
Yeah,
when you're planning outings and team meals, even away days, you have to think about planning in a way where you're still having there is still safe care being provided to patients.
that's interesting. What do you actually do? Do you get more bank nurses in?
Yeah,
Some agency nurses?
so a combination of things. So you might have your regular bank staff come and cover the ward, the unit, the team, the service,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, whilst your regular staff go and have this away day. You might think about agency nurses, for example, or you might think about if you've got other teams who deliver similar kinds of care, then you might have some of their staff come and work on that unit or that team, that service, whilst this said team goes and has their away day. So there is a lot of planning that comes with these outings, because care is 24/7. Care does not stop.
hmm,
So you have to plan
yeah,
um you know all these things more carefully than perhaps in another industry where you're not delivering or
yeah.
giving something.
Out of interest, what are those away days? What can they be?
A number of things. So I know a lot of trusts now, try to do these for each team at least once a quarter. So once every 3 months or so, you should have a space where you're away from your working environment. So they could be anything from sort of team building activities,
Yeah,
or to kind of like away days that are built around actually shared learning. So you might bring something to kind of teach or share with the whole service, the whole team. It can be a chance to kind of reinforce or realign aims, shared goals, those types of
okay.
things.
They
So
sound
they can
quite,
be really useful.
yeah, they sound quite
Really,
valuable. Do they go
yeah.
down well? Are they mostly well
Yeah,
received?
absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was, within teams, I absolutely loved away days. I think it was a
Right.
great chance to be, out with colleagues it's still a working environment, but like, in your non-working everyday environment, and
Yeah,
kind of get to see them in a different light almost. And I think it can be really valuable to really realign those shared values and
yeah,
shared aims and objectives because I think sometimes, like I said, you work in parallel, you work in silo. So, at least those 3 monthly touch-ins
yeah,
are very useful.
yeah, yeah. And did you get to know people better?
Yeah,
Did
you
yeah,
do. You do get to know because you get to have those informal conversations. You get to have those, get almost kind of get to know people better because you're de-stressed, you're decompressed, you're able to kind of get to the bottom of somebody's personality, just have really, did you watch this show last night? What do you think of this series, this year's Love Island? I mean, there's so much you can just kind
yeah,
of get away from that.
yeah,
Sometimes in really big teams, you might be in the same team but have never worked with somebody on the
yeah.
same shift. So actually, you might not even know half of your team because
Mm.
you're working opposite shifts all the time.
So a
So it's a real,
potential good friend could be in
yeah,
there and
yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
know it. And yeah.
yeah, to meet people
And
and
did
connect.
it help you be your authentic self more, which we talked about
Yeah.
last time? Does it help in that respect?
So I think it's really important when you're planning these away days or team outings, that as the person that's delivering or running the event or the occasion, I think it's really important to create space for people to be able to express themselves. So when you're running or leading or chairing anything, you want to make sure that everybody has a voice
Yeah.
and have the time to share something.
Mm.
And I feel like as leaders, you kind of know people's strengths and people's comfort level. So not everybody is going to feel comfortable to kind of stand up and say, I did this yesterday and I want to do this today. So you kind of create those isolated discussions for people to then share in
Mm.
their comfort level.
Yeah.
So I think if that's done right, then yes, you feel able to kind of come out of yourself a bit more.
Yeah.
But if it's just a day of everyone sat in one big room and there's no kind of breakout discussions or
In
sessions,
a grey conference centre somewhere.
yeah, then it's just I might as well be at work. It's just, you know.
This actually, to me, this sounds like something that's happening, something that actually works and that is received well. So
Yeah.
yeah, good.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think you know, many moons ago, away days were like something you did maybe once every couple of years or once a year, but now they're definitely, you know, they're more frequent. A lot of trusts are doing them, you know, once every 3 months. I know definitely for my teams, we try to do one at least once every 3 months, once every 6 months, just to kind of get
It's
out
quite a
of
lot.
that.
Yeah.
Quite a lot, just to kind of get out of that everyday mundane.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it's really important to get people to be able to decompress and
Yeah.
connect on a human level with their
Right.
colleagues.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey, can I just I'll keep it rolling, but can I just have a quick intermission? I need to
Yeah.
text or call my partner.
Oh,
I've
okay.
just recently started doing yoga with her. She's excellent, and I'm a complete rookie. And we're meant to be doing it tonight at 6:30, but I don't think I'm going to make it. So,
Oh,
and I think
okay.
she was just buzzing me to see if
Oh,
she
okay.
knows that I was having this chat. Yeah, I'm just
That's
going to
so,
give her
yeah, that's
a
all right.
text.
I'll open the window whilst you do that.
Okay. She
Mhm.
wasn't answering the phone, so I've texted her. Have you ever done yoga?
I haven't. I actually haven't. No, I'm more of a what am I more of? More of sort of cardio, and
Yeah, me too.
I did this thing called Insanity. My husband got me onto it. It's
Full
absolutely,
on.
it's full on, it's awful, but it's really effective.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it for a while. And last year I started going to the gym, but I did that for about, I think maybe 3 months, and then I just gave up. I was just like,
Mm,
oh, I can't. I'm
mm,
too tired. I just want my evenings to just do nothing and
yeah.
relax. So yeah, so now I need to get back into something because I've just
Yeah.
kind of just
Well, I've done it once before, but like you, I like sort of adrenaline, cardio,
yeah.
busy activities, and I gave up. But this time I'm going to stick to it because definitely I think it's something you can stick with as you get older.
Oh yeah.
Really want to be very supple, and it will help the sports which I do, which is mostly windsurfing, which I absolutely love,
Oh nice.
and that will keep me flexible as I get older for
Oh,
the
that's so
sport
lovely.
club. So yeah,
Yeah.
but it's also quite meditative. This
Mm.
yoga, it's Ashtanga yoga, so it is actually very hard.
Mm.
But I can see that once, and I feel just I'm very much a rookie doing it, and there's lots of different poses, and it's all the practice just follows the same poses.
Yeah.
Um, and I just have no idea what I'm doing at the moment. I'm just following them and a sheet of paper with all different poses on it. But I know that, and Tina said, once you've got it, it's
Yeah.
when you're getting into that flow and you're not
Yeah.
thinking about anything else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, let me just see. I've sort of lost my way, so I'll just read my covered a lot of ground just talking generally, actually, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is all right. So again, that mission statement talks about support each other, learn from one another. And I was thinking about that.
Mm.
Because to me, all right, so I've written here just a prompt about collaboration,
Mm.
which is what supporting each other, learning from each other, I guess, is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for successful collaboration, you have to be able to disagree.
Mm.
And then that leads on to, well, in order to disagree, you need to be in a psychologically safe place.
Mm.
So one thing just keeps leading on to the next.
Can I come in
And
there? I think that you're absolutely right, Matt. Those things are all interlinked. So
yeah,
in the NHS, when we talk about learning from each other and sharing, You know, there is a huge emphasis on the ability for trusts and teams to learn from mistakes
Yeah.
and learn from when we get things wrong.
Yeah.
You know, when you work in an industry of care and delivering care and sort of patient-centered approach, and you're dealing with people's lives, and sometimes trust teams get things wrong.
Yeah. I think it was Nikki, a colleague of mine, registered nurse, and she does our coaching, and she wrote about leadership, and for her, the three vital elements: trust, vulnerability, and courage. That a leader needs to pass on to the team, and for the team to each member of the team to live those three elements.
Yeah.
And without those three, there can be, you're not going to be operating in terms of communication, not going to be operating at 100%. You need to be able to have the courage to speak up. You need to be able to have the courage to fail. And that in return needs somebody to allow you to talk. And that person also needs to be able to listen. And that person also accepts that errors will be made. And that, that's we learn from overcoming challenges and not failures, but problems.
Yeah. And I think that the trust to disagree, the trust to be able to have a disagreement, or have a different perspective, the trust, the vulnerability to feel able to say when you've done something wrong. That's a big thing. We talk a lot about trustworthiness in the NHS. And I think actually when I was a student nurse, there was a part of our book when we get signed off to be a nurse that talks about trustworthiness and accountability. And that's all about speaking up when you get something wrong and speaking up when you've seen something that's not right. So that goes even way back into our training.
Which is all well and good, but if you're speaking up to a manager that you're scared of, I mean, it's probably not going to happen. And so, that's when we start needing to talk about what the skills that managers need. Managers need, so say somebody is coming to you and they want to tell you that they think something could be done differently. You need to be a manager that has got so much proper inner confidence. And I don't mean the ego confidence, alpha male confidence.
No.
You're so at ease with yourself that you can easily accept it when somebody presents you with a slightly better way of doing things.
Yes.
And instead of saying, no, we don't do it like that around here, you say, do you know what? Nice one. Let's give that a go. I think that could actually work. Thanks for bringing that to me.
Absolutely. So it's something that we describe in health, is sort of having self-awareness. And when we talk about self-awareness, we're talking about, knowing where the limitations of your expertise ends. Knowing how to open up yourself to receive feedback, to receive alternative opinions, perspective, and sort of knowing your strengths as well. So, self-awareness comes into that. And I think if you're not able to show that level of vulnerability to your teams, they can sense that. If you're in a team that people don't come up with ideas and sort of, feel empowered to share ideas, then you've got a problem, really. And as a leader, I think we should be encouraging that from our teams. And showing our teams and showing people that, where we want ideas shared, we encourage ideas, we praise ideas, and not every idea is going to be a good idea, but not every idea is a bad idea either. It's about the process of sharing ideas and generating ideas is really important in teams. Once you've lost that, then then you've got a real problem.
And so we were talking actually just on the phone last week before, about leadership. And you pointed out something I hadn't really thought about, is that maybe managers don't always need to be leaders. And I was thinking about something that I've discovered through another part of the business, where management in an NHS trust seemed to be about a box ticking exercise to me. And I think the phrase, and I mentioned this to you, the phrase was, can you reassure me that X, Y, and Z has been done?
Yeah.
And I just got the impression of somebody with a clipboard and a pen. And that was their vision of management, is asking some. And I just thought, well, that sounds like a complete waste of time. Because if you have got a team who have, and you trust in their skill level, you should, and you've all got the shared vision, you all know what you're meant to be doing, you all got the same set of goals, you respect each other, you know, then that job doesn't need to exist, because that person will be doing it anyway. It doesn't need somebody following them up with a clipboard asking. But is that too cynical? Is that, in a large organization like the NHS, does that simply have to be done? You know, part of due process.
I think it's a really tricky one. So I think any environment or any team / manager relationship or dynamic where there has to be those conversations, I think you know there is a problem there in how there's a problem around communication. There's a problem around sort of skill development. There is an issue around you know, that managers sort of confidence in managing difficult situations. Because I think those scenarios would only occur in those situations where something has gone wrong and you're asking for accountability, or you're asking for assurance. So those conversations would probably be more likely for, you know, maybe a potentially, you know, a manager who is not confident with you know, holding that level of responsibility and holding that level of risk, because it is a lot when you're dealing with people and care, like I said. I think it's important to have conversations about responsibilities and accountability, but it's how that's done. You know, it's how do you empower the person that you're having that conversation with to also understand the decision-making process behind your questions. So rather than coming up with, can you assure me that this is done, but actually sitting with that person, having an already established dialogue with that person goes a long way. So actually managers who are managing people who they don't have that established line of communication with,
so it's
going downhill.
It's about establishing respect and trust both ways. It's about how you frame a question. And I suppose
because you have to have difficult conversations, you know, in healthcare. You have to have those conversations sometimes. But it's not it's more so not actually the language used, it's how you're having that conversation, because the person that you're speaking to is also a person. And they're going to take something away from that conversation. So when things go wrong, you want to move away from blame and shame. You want to get to a point of actually what's happened. Let's get all the facts on the table. What's actually happened in the situation? What can we take away from it to improve things next time? How do we ensure that our teams take something away from this situation that's meaningful? And can lead to things happening in a better way going forward. That's the kind of language you want to be using. So it's not about, can you assure me this? It's not about assurance, but actually it's about sort of building within a sense of accountability within everybody, so that everybody wants to get it right. And so that when it goes wrong, everybody is committed to understanding how do we do things better going forward.
So to get to the we are a team as a successful what was I trying to say? To get to that point where you can say we have successfully embedded this idea of team. do we really need to think, does the NHS really need to think about who teams managers are and what types of people become managers? Is that important?
Absolutely.
Would you say that's important when we're considering the team?
I think it's really important. I think it's really important. I think we have to, I think we spoke about this before, and I said something along the lines of us having to get to a place where we really hold the mirror to ourselves to understand what are the characteristics that we are promoting to
Yeah,
managers.
yeah,
Because some of these qualities we do need. We need people who are, organized. We need people who are sort of have a structured approach. We need people who are operationally strong. So we need some of those qualities. But not every manager is a leader.
no.
Some people are very good at managing tasks and can sort of be assigned things to do and will deliver it.
Good administrators.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some people are so for some people, those are where their strengths lie, and we
Yeah,
need those people.
yeah,
We need those people, in any industry. I think where leadership is different, it's about the intricacies, and it's about those sort of soft skills, almost those soft qualities,
yeah,
communication, influence, sort of politically astute. There's different qualities that come with
yeah,
leadership that's
yeah.
very different to management. But I think we need to understand we need to understand when those two areas cross, and when managers when people who are put into management positions are unable to perform and deliver in that way,
Yeah,
that's sort of expected of them.
yeah. So I made some bullet points here, but I can't claim that they're mine because I think most of them have come from conversations I've had with Nikki when I've talked to her about how she feels, what skills she feels a good leader should have. So I'll just read some of these out. And, she said, showing gratitude and recognition is really important. Constructive feedback. What you say is what you mean is vital, and you need to be consistent in your messaging. Connection and empathy, which you were just touching on that. These are really soft. These are classed as, very soft skills, subtle but fundamental, right? If you're developing relationships with other humans,
Absolutely.
you have to have connection and empathy.
Yeah.
Blame and shame, specifically in the NHS there, I suppose, and her experiences. Blame and shame must be replaced by ownership and accountability. Nice, strong points. And it's funny, isn't it? So we're, I think, comparing that with what you just said, there's a lot of symmetry there. But I imagine if you ask some other people what leadership means, it might be more of those sort of traditional traits of confidence in the old definition of the word, being strident, being able to stand up in a room and tell other people what to do, and having a loud voice, and being assertive. And when I think of all those old sort of traditional traits, they're kind of they're kind of the opposite. They're the negative. In terms of negative in photograph, they're the negative of the things that we're talking about. When I think back to when I was a kid and somebody said you're not confident enough, they meant you can't stand up and stand up for yourself against other people, in an us and them type of environment. Whereas now, when we talk about confidence, in like the modern definition, it's that inner confidence where you're so at ease with yourself, you don't need to have a loud voice. You don't need to be an extrovert. You can be yourself and you can calmly explain your position, and then you listen to their position. And that strikes me as good leadership, because you'll get everybody on board, because you're not looking to be the one person standing up in the center of the room. You're looking to be part of a circle and initiate and open up a conversation.
I couldn't agree with those points even more. I think Nikki's actually spot on. I think, I would add one more to that, and it would just be about actually being able to create that space that brings people together,
Right.
that brings different perspectives together
Okay.
that harnesses those differences almost.
Yeah.
So actually, as a leader, you're creating that synergy
So
by
you're a facilitator.
yeah. That's honestly one. I think that's one of the biggest qualities actually. It's away from the doing. You're creating that space that allows people, that empowers people to feel able to do the thing that that you're intending almost.
Yeah. Because that's what all of this should be about. All of it is creating, like you say, the space where people can come in and do the stuff that they actually have a passion for and that they're trained and skilled in doing.
Yeah.
It sounds quite simple, really, doesn't it? I mean, I know it's, and we talked about the size of the organization.
Yeah.
Makes it very, very challenging to do that. But if you keep that aim simple, and every decision that you come up against, think, well, what is the overriding aim here? Yeah. It's to allow people to have the space to do the thing that they love doing.
Yeah.
And that they're trained to do.
Yeah.
And are we impeding that, or are we facilitating it? So another thing that needs to be dealt with then is promoting the right people.
Yeah.
And do you see that as is that something that the NHS is getting right generally?
I think there is more of an emphasis on value-based interviewing.
Okay.
And actually getting individuals whose values aligned with organizations and actually with the with the overall NHS. So there is a massive emphasis on that. I think we've moved away from those quote unquote, type qualities that we mentioned before. Now it's really about getting to the core of individuals, making sure that they are, aligned with things that are important to each organization and each trust, whether it's whether it's empathy, whether it's valuing diversity, whether it's being respectful of all people. Every trust has its own values and every trust has its own sort of things that are important to it as an organization. So there is a massive emphasis now on aligning values to individuals rather than just promoting qualities.
Well, I can tell you that sounds like huge progress I've been in the recruitment sector for 20 years. And if somebody had told me 20 years ago what you've just told me, that is an important part of an application process or an onboarding process, discovering people's values and aligning those to the values of the organization, which is actually now something I really think is vital and should be done more in recruitment marketing. But if I'd gone back 20 years, you had told me that, I would have just thought, no way. Because, it was all about job descriptions were extremely prescriptive and just really about the objective or the material. You need to have this, you need to have this, this, and this. It was nothing about the emotional side of work. So even just hearing you say that that's really important, NHS wide and I hope industry wide gives me hope that, we're moving to a better point. Because if we can match people better, then they will stay and roll.
Absolutely.
They want to stay there.
Yeah, we know that works. And I think that's why there is that commitment now to get it right from the offset. You don't want to be in situations where those things just aren't aligned, but you've got a person that on paper did amazing at interview, but then a year down the line, you're thinking, what's changed? What's happened? Why are there issues now? And a lot of that, is because you haven't done the work to really align those values. And ensuring that the person matches what the trust is representing, outwardly and inwardly. And I think once we get that right, then you're right. People then stay longer. I
mean, just another part of this business that I'm really looking to develop is a different type of recruitment marketing. And I've tried to promote this to some organizations where we give them the opportunity to talk about themselves as an employer. So it's not even at the point where you're hiring. It's just, you're constantly building, I don't want to use the word brand because but you're
It's the
constantly
best way of
your
describing
character, your
it.
personality,
Yeah.
and really establishing it makes you as an employer think, well, who are we? What are our values? And then you promote those. And if you're out there constantly promoting them, having that conversation, you'll be reaching people that haven't considered
Yeah.
what they might want to do in their career, but they
Yeah.
might start seeing and listening to your values and think, yeah, that chimes with something deep inside me, and I would like to be part of that and doing
Yeah.
that each day.
Yeah. I think that there is something so powerful about being in a trust or being in any organization where you just understand, you're aligned with what the trust is doing. There is an energy that's within every employee almost. There's something that there is already that common shared understanding perspective. And so anything that you then build on is you're building on top of that. You're not starting from scratch. You're building on top of what's already there within that team dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, I've worked in a number of trusts, and I think once I knew that I had found the right trust was when I felt comfortable within everything. That level of sort of pride almost when you're representing what your trust stands for because you believe it goes a long way.
Oh, it's so important because you then become an ambassador for the organization.
Exactly.
You go and tell your friends and your family,
Yes. Yes.
and then the word spreads,
Yes.
and that increases attraction
Yeah.
to the organization and the sector as well.
Mm.
Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And I've got something else that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know whether it would be something that we talk about in its own right, which is that servant leader
Oh God, yes.
idea.
Now you've got to tell me more about the servant leader. You got to tell, I think you've done a lot more reading into this.
Yeah. Let's I'll read some, let's see where it goes anyway. So so I've got some notes here. I'll just read from them. It's a servant first rather than the leader first mentality.
Okay. Yeah.
Servant leadership is a leadership style and philosophy where an individual interacts with others, either in a management or fellow employee capacity, to achieve authority rather than power. This is quite tricky, this, isn't it? The system embodies a decentralized organizational structure. When I read that sentence, decentralized structure, I thought, well, the NHS is a very hierarchical organization.
Yes.
So after that, I read the little bullet points and I thought, well, everybody will probably love these and find agreement in them. But the problem comes in an organization that of its size, it's just so hard to bring about, structural changes of that magnitude. Anyway, so maybe we'll just leave it on what might be a lovely aim, but impossible ever to implement. So these are some of the bullet points. Servant leadership seeks to move management and personnel interaction away from controlling activities towards a synergistic relationship. I didn't really understand the word synergistic in that well, but I think it's sort of a two-way thing. We both helping each other. The authority figure in servant leadership environments attempts to promote innovation, empower employees, and assure the well-being of those around them. So, important stuff. Aims to develop qualities in others and demonstrates characteristics such as empathy, which we're just talking about, listening, stewardship, and commitment to the personal growth of others. So I'm sure the NHS would support all of those statements and the overarching sentiment, but I think we need to recognise and acknowledge the scale of the task that the NHS has on its hands. Because it is simply so massive. The thing that makes it amazing, this national achievement, is the very thing that makes it so difficult to bring about change. And so, where does that leave us? It's got these 7 people promises. And I get it. I imagine there might be some nurses that, they run ragged and they see these promises as more things from on high, diktats.
Yeah.
But I think you and I think we're agreed that they are worthy goals to hold.
Absolutely. I think so, because I mean, let's be honest, even the fact that we are at a point where there is an emphasis being placed on the experience of employees in the
Yeah,
NHS,
yeah,
that is a new position. That's a new
yeah,
place to be in. For a long time, the emphasis was about patient care, and rightly so.
mm,
But I think along with that, the the people experience was lost.
yeah,
The employee experience, the everyday, the day-to-day life of the staff members who are delivering the care, that was lost along the way.
yeah,
So the fact that there is even something that's about people,
mm,
i.e. the employees, the staff doing the care, that's amazing. I think
yeah,
that's a new position that
yeah,
I haven't experienced in my 10 years of, within the NHS.
yeah.
So I
And
think that's a good position to be in.
it's really good. And, if you look into the independent sector, the commercial sector, they all talk about these ideas, well-being, looking after staff, work-life balance. And many of them, it's not just words either, they're acting on it. But the NHS has actually, it's taken the zeitgeist here and it's leading.
Mm.
It's not, it came up with this some years ago now.
Yeah.
Sees it as vital, and like you say, vital not just to deliver better patient care, which it will, that will be the outcome, but do it for the staff, because they know the staff are under stress and they know the staff are unrecognized. One of the other values is to be recognized. So it's quite progressive, isn't it, actually, I think.
Yeah.
A standard bearer of the types of values and qualities that we should be celebrating in life and at work. Looking after each other and talking, allowing a space where we can talk to each other on equal terms, diversity, inclusivity. Like I say, and go back 20 years, these would have been rarely discussed, very rarely discussed, like ever. And now it's part of the conversation. And there are challenges, but at least it's being done, and that gives us hope, I think.
Do you feel like COVID was a catalyst in this? So I think, I feel like COVID has been I think it's been awful. I mean, that goes without saying. COVID has been awful on the healthcare system as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think there's something that came with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
One of its unintended consequences was this sense of collectiveness, and this sense of shared purpose, almost this sense of we're in it together. We have to get through this. We have no other choice but to get through this together. And I think that's been a catalyst for this almost movement, and this emphasis on staff well-being, and putting your staff experience and staff feelings at the core of everything that we're doing. I hope that stays. I hope that collective energy stays, because I think it's been, again, an unintended consequence of COVID, but I think it's been so invaluable to see that shift in how we talk about our staff. I was on maternity leave for the first year of COVID. I went back to work the December, right at the end of the lockdown. And I saw that difference firsthand. The language that leaders use to describe staff members, and the emphasis that was placed on how are we going to protect our teams. I mean, down to individual members.
As another part of our work here, I can't make it too public just yet, but we've worked on a really enjoyable large project helping a part of the NHS. Its mission was to understand the vaccination workforce. So many interesting points in that, and we were interviewing people from the workforce, focus groups in the survey, and we're looking at different aspects. But the overriding takeaway from me was the area which we where we were looking into people's motivations for joining the vaccination workforce. You know, the unpaid, the volunteers, as well as the paid workforce. And they're almost as one on their reason, which they wanted to collectively come round together, a common cause. There was a sense of a singular endeavour. That's something they wanted to give something back. And again, you know, that's it's really inspiring to know that people from so many different types of backgrounds have the same desire to help each other. I want to come in and do something to help my fellow citizen. And that's kind of inspiring, and it in itself, in terms of, you know, what we as humans can achieve. So yeah, I think it gave people a sense of not just mortality, obviously, but humanity, and what's important. And raised, I think, in the perception of those who don't work in the care sector have of those who do. And I suppose that's when it gets difficult, when you then, a year or so later, you're talking about how much they should be paid, and not just hand clapped. But that's a different issue, which
that's a different.
In another
we're not going to get into this pay issue. That's a whole different issue.
Let's end it on that. Let's end it on that really positive. Coming together as humans around a cause, as a collective whole, because that takes us back to the festival vibe at the start of the conversation.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay,
perfect.
Thanks, Maxine. Really nice to talk to you again.
Of course, Matt. And I am going to email you. I've taken a few days off, so I'm going to email you this week now that you're back about our chat with regards to your proposal, and I'll get back to you.
Cool. Yeah.
If not tomorrow.
That'd be great. Yeah, I really want to get that going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Enjoy your yoga. I'm going to try and see what my kids are doing upstairs.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. Have a lovely evening.
Yes, you too. I'll see you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.